Hi everyone. We at LSPs we're celebrating our fifth year anniversary this month, and we thought it would be a great idea to do a small mini interview with the founders Erik and Floris. Um, I joined just 5 weeks ago, so it would make sense that I do the interview. Floris, may I start with you? Of course, you did a few clips on LinkedIn previously. Can you tell me something about your highlights of the last past 5 years? Maybe also the lows.
The last 5 years, many highlights, because starting this company was a journey in and of itself. So it's been a dream of mine to do something like this, and I think it was Eric's dream as well to start our own company. So that was the first and biggest highlight, was just trying this, starting out, seeing where this would take us. The second biggest highlight, I think, was when we got the idea for the License Q Hub, how we could automate ourselves, find ways to better service our clients. Um, yeah, one of the major highlights that I'm still working on a day-to-day basis. So
And
if I had
could
to
you
call out, it would be those two.
Are there also lows or only happy days?
Oh, there's always lows. I have to work with Erik all day long. No.
Yeah, I reckon.
Um, no, yeah, of course, there's always lows. Like, no job is perfect, but we try and do what we do to the best of our ability. And one of the key focus areas is always, how do we keep whatever we are doing fun. So that, with that in mind, and being your own boss, you decide where you want to put your focus, and you decide who you want to work with. And one of the key areas that I'll always try to optimize in is, who are the people that I think are nice to work with, and who are the people who want to work with me. And if you take that as one of your main outlooks, then I think you go to high after high instead of high after low.
Thank you, Floris. Erik, how about you? If you look back on the previous 5 years, what were your key learnings, both from a personal side, but also from a business perspective?
Yeah, yeah. Of course, when we both quitted our job at Microsoft at the time, it was quite challenging. We were confronted by the pandemic, and that made us survive that period. So it was quite challenging. We invented the business model, and we completely had to adapt that based upon that pandemic. Everything was remote, everything was online. So yeah, our company was actually completely transformed within a month that we set the company up. So that was quite a challenge, but I think we managed quite well. So very happy with that. And it even made it possible that we're now living abroad and have a combination of being in Holland for a company. So yeah, very thankful for that we can do it that way within a normal company by being an employee. That makes it quite challenging. I see that in many companies now that people are getting back to the office. And most companies are making it mandatory again to come a few days a week to the office. So yeah, this is for me the best thing what could have happened in the past 5 years. I enjoyed it very much. Of course, you also mentioned, are there lows? Yes, there have been lows. It's not only fun; it's responsibility of having your own company, not only to yourself but also to Floris and our employees. So it also brings a load on your shoulders. But in the end of the day, like Floris said, you can manage your own day. You can decide what gives you energy and where to focus on, which makes it a lot of fun to do this. And I cannot wait for the next 5 years to further build this company, also with you, Lucas, because we need more people to grow. So that's what we've been focusing on in the past few months. So yeah, looking forward, I think that's one of the key elements that we should focus on.
We'll touch on the future in a moment. If you look back on the last 5 years, and then more from a business perspective, from a market or industry perspective, what are some of the key learnings that 5 years ago you didn't know, or what did really surprise you? Can you, for example, mention that something?
So when we started this off, I was more or less convinced that every company is focused on savings and to have true downs instead of true ups. But actually, I was surprised after already 1 year. I changed my mind in that aspect because it's not about that. What we've seen for quite a lot of companies that we work with, that not only cost saving is very important to them, they also want to get the most value from the technology, from the money they spend. And yeah, in addition, that was an eye opener to me in that first year, where we were only focused on cost reduction, cost reduction, cost reduction. But yeah, basically not every client is waiting for that. So we also adjusted that in our approach, where we depends. It really depends on what our client wants, and we have a tailored approach in that sense. But it was a bit of a surprise for me when I was working for Microsoft. You always have that negotiation conversation, like you're also familiar to discuss, and everyone wants to spend less. But then when you're actually on the other side and helping getting that cloud cost bill down, it's not always that. So that was quite surprising for me after 1 year. But we had to do that. Yeah.
Thanks. And Floris, how's that for you? What did you discover?
The market-wise, you mean? So building on what Erik said, it's for a lot of companies, money might not be the most important aspect, but what is very important always is the risk associated to, for instance, falling out of compliance with Microsoft or other large software vendors, things like that. And what I find that a lot of companies are actually looking for is just insight into what am I spending, what am I using, how am I using it, can I change anything in that usage. So it's not necessarily about reducing the cost per se, but it is about understanding why you are spending dollars or euros or British pounds or whatever currency you're buying in, opposed to spending less of it. Just understanding what you're spending and why you're spending what you're spending. I think that is one of the key insights that I've seen with our companies, because for our clients, what we typically help them with on a day-to-day basis is just gaining the right insights. So Microsoft licensing, not a fancy subject, not a very interesting subject for many people, something that they have to do on top of their day-to-day jobs. So us helping them understanding how they should look at their own environment, that in itself is how we can bring value.
Got it. And so you reflect a bit on the, let's say, the customer side of things over the last 5 years. Have you seen also the market change in terms of how customers want to work with partners? What's important to them, or has it been stable? Erik, what comes to mind?
Partners is always a difficult one. So typically, we see that in our market, a lot of companies are working with partners. For some reason, that model has not really worked for us. So what we also prefer is to have a direct relation with the client and not having a partner in between. And you typically see we would love to have a partner business, but it's always complicated. We only want to have a happy client, and within a partner relationship, actually a three-way relationship, you have to have a happy client and a happy partner, which complicates things, which makes it more difficult. More people have to earn from a deal. So typically, that's always more of an effort than having a very direct relation with a client. So we actually prefer to have that, but again, if the right partner comes along, who knows what possible, who is possible.
Of course. That makes sense. And from a customer perspective, so looking at partners, we have seen some changes recently in the, let's say, licensing solution provider space when it comes to fees and what they charge and what they do. Do you foresee, or have you seen in the recent past developments there, or is this more a future impacted thing?
Well, of course, I think it was in November, Microsoft more or less announced the end of the enterprise agreement, and all of the legacy LSPs were surprised, which came as a surprise to me, because how can you be surprised? Everyone was predicting this for more than 10 years. If Microsoft every year is declining the rebate fees, you should not be surprised when there comes an end to that. And if they also announced then the end of the enterprise agreement, and very recently the possibility to have a 3-year price lock in CSP, yeah, that's more or less, and people don't want to call that out, but it's more or less that the end of the LSP as it is from a Microsoft perspective. And what we see now is that all those LSPs are struggling. Some of them are laying off people. Others are consolidating their efforts in order to keep the company alive. But in the essence, I think the business model is not made for 2025. I think there's going to be a huge shift and momentum for companies like us to really help clients, because typically we've seen that in that LSP market, because they are struggling, they have no focus on what's really important for their client. I think that's for companies like us, where we are working from client perspective on approach in the Microsoft market. There is a great gap that of calculating how much rebate you will get, what suite do I have to sell in order to achieve my goals. So that makes it more and more difficult, I think, for that market. So I would say that within 2 or 3 years, unless something really funny happens, and Microsoft is coming back to that, I expect more or less the end of companies like that. They are depending on more than 80% of Microsoft income. So if you do not change that, then you have a challenge.
Maybe it's a good bridge to the future. We'll talk about the future a bit. So we see the market changing, we see how partners at Microsoft are acting, changing all. Where do you see, of course, we've done some announcements on the changes on the market there, for example, on CSP, on what's happening with MCA and all these kind of things. So from my perspective, MCA is going to be more and more accelerated, even faster than one might expect. What do you see as an impact on the market? You touched on it, Erik, already a bit. Where do you see our company? Maybe that's a good one to for the next 5 years. Maybe it's a wide, or let's say a far horizon, but while we have the 5th anniversary, it's a nice momentum.
It's always good to have vision. Is the question for me or Floris?
Ooh, good one, Floris. We've been talking quite a lot.
Yeah. So to look towards the history, towards the future, you need to look at your history as well. So what Erik's explained about the landscape that's been evolving over time, I think one of the important aspects as well is that Microsoft has foreshadowed this for a long time. So reducing the fees, already trying to eliminate LSPs with their larger Fortune 500 customer base. So the markets have been shifting into this CSP-led value-added services instead of the typical reseller model. So distributors, resellers, they've been having a more difficult time of it over the past years. And I think Microsoft will continue that trend. So obviously now with the shift towards MCAE, you're going to see the end of the LSP as we know it, which Erik talked a bit about as well. And they will change their business model. And in changing their business model, they need to change the service that they deliver as well. So they need to actually now, or they're going to be forced to actually add value-added services to their portfolio. It's no longer about Microsoft demands you require an LSP, so take it and go with us or another one. Now they need to actually start thinking about what is the service that we're going to offer to our clients, so that they want to stay with us as a Microsoft partner. I think that's a very important aspect of it. I think MCAE is going to change the market dynamic in such a way that Microsoft is now also going into direct competition with the Microsoft Partner Network. So if you put those options that you will have towards the near future next to each other, either buy direct the website, go through Microsoft, or go with a partner, it's going to take parties like us to help a Microsoft customer make sense of what the best option is. So what will happen if I go directly with Microsoft? And might it be interesting for me to go with one of Microsoft's value-added partners or not? In that dynamic, I think the next 5 years, maybe even the next 1.5 years, is going to be the most important. How we position ourselves in that segment is definitely by leveraging our knowledge, and our knowledge we want to centralize and position in our license queue hub, so that you as an end customer of Microsoft have the flavors available at the click of a button. So you can see, okay, I'm buying this now. What happens if I choose MCIE? What happens if I'm still allowed to choose an enterprise agreement? What happens if I choose an interesting low margin CDSP partner that might offer very decent services to me as well? For instance, I don't know, better alternative to Microsoft Unified Support, better, cheaper, things like that. So the License Queue Hub should eventually be the one-stop shop for us. I think that might be a multi-year process until we're finally there. To any Microsoft customer buy, tell them, if I were you, should take this action.
Got you. And Erik, what do you think? Because I think to summarize Floris, it's about a changing market, which brings great opportunity for both customers, but also for us, of course, to invent the wheel, see what's out there, and deliver true value in let's say unbiased, transparent way. Because you're not tied to programs anymore. Stuff is changing. You're free to pay who you want to pay for your consultancy or your.
Yeah. So our main challenge as license queue is scalability. So we only have that many people available. So it's always a challenge to have the right amount of work versus the right amount of people. That's always our challenge. That's why in the past years we've been investing a lot on the license queue hub in order to simplify what we do. So for us, I think our and also compared to what the market is offering, what the LSPs are offering, I think a combination of having the license queue hub tool in place for our clients, and for who does not know what that is, it's a tool which can be connected to the online services portal. It gives you real-time insight in cloud consumption and optimization potential. So by having that on board and having that insights within hours instead of weeks, it improves our scalability. And for our clients, we have a way of identifying optimization potential in a very quick manner. So for us, in the next 5 years, we need to focus on that. We need to focus on staying scalable and making sure that we can reach as many clients as we can to achieve our growth goals. And that, of course, we have to get new people on board, which is also quite a challenge. Of course, it's very difficult to get the people on board for the type of profile that we need. So that's something we need to zoom in on in the next 5 years. But I think, as it is going now, I see a very bright future for us, especially with other parties that are not offering the same level of services we can to our clients. I think it's a very successful market for us in the next years. So looking forward to jumping in on that and make our dream come true.
Yeah, I can agree to that. I think so. Yeah, to recap, Erik, be scalable, automate things, utilize our tool, the LicenseQ Hub tool, and make sure that we stay on par with delivering quality, and the future is bright. Maybe a final question before we wrap up. You spoke a bit about expanding and where the challenges might be. I just joined 5 weeks ago. I made it a very, let's say, conscious decision to do so. What would you recommend for people, or maybe it's a question for you, Floris, for guys working in, or girls working in Microsoft or at an LSP at the moment, having a great long-term career with a lot of knowledge and expertise, who also are thinking about, hey, let's do something else. You spoke about freedom a lot earlier in this interview, Floris, but maybe you can. What would you advise? What would you recommend? Sorry for putting you on the spot, but no.
No, of course not. What would I recommend? Also, the biggest hurdle you have is yourself. So you might think, I can't do it because the uncertainty. I can't do it because I'm currently employed and I live a very cushy lifestyle and I need that salary. Well, I can tell you, you don't. You can lead the same life with probably less stress by removing the rat race and just going out and venturing out on your own. Gives you all the freedom, gives you all the options, gives you all the possibilities. Currently, in this day and age, all you need is a good quality laptop and a smart idea, and you can get started. That's basically what Erik and I did, and that has not shifted at all. In theory, I think it's become easier with all the Gen AI tools that you have. Like, you can brand yourself and your ideas in 10 minutes rather than a few weeks to months when we started out 5 years ago. So if you have a great idea and you think about, should I take the plunge, shouldn't I? Just go ahead and do it. Try it out. If it doesn't work, you can always go back and find another job. And maybe do what you do, Lucas, which is also like find a company that is willing to grow and needs good people like you'll do. So this is an open invitation, but if you have the type of skills that we need and you think you might be an addition to the team, you're always willing to reach out to us. We can talk about how we can do that. I would just say go for it. It's less scary than you think, and it will give you a lot more peace of mind when you go for it and when you try it. And there's no better feeling than looking back after 5 years at something that you built and be like, if it's not already, I think it might become a success. That's great.
Sounds good. No, so reason for asking, I get a lot of questions. Are you also relocating now to Portugal or to Malaysia? But I'm planning to stay here. And for people that live in a certain country, they can absolutely stay in a certain country if they start working for us. But also in the light of, we're expanding, let's say, more international in an international way now. So, folks across the globe having similar profiles, always happy to talk, I would say. Yeah. All right. Any last words, guys, before we wrap up?
Well, I'd like to return the favor and maybe ask you, Lucas, what your view is on the current market and what you think who can or want to bring to LicenseQ in the coming 5 years.
Okay, great question. So market change, we've touched on it before. So there's a lot changing at the moment in terms of how customers work with partners. The whole model is shifting. So, and I see a lot of momentum for a company like us. But yeah, that's obvious. I think there's momentum for our self-developed tool and to simplify things and to because just zooming in a bit on that, it's so, let's say, low touch and easy to use. The feedback that we get, that I got over the last 5 weeks, I must say, is incredible. That we haven't seen something this simple and this easy to use and this clear in a So customers, our clients are very very good about it. I think for the next 5 years, like I said, I want to expand more in the international space. So I see a lot what we do in the Netherlands, and we're big in doing that. It could also be done across the borders. Of course, we have some international clients, but I think we can do way more. I don't know in what form that would be. If we have to have local presence in all these areas, for example, in South America or the Americas, or even more in Asia, who knows? Or in countries around us. It's something to discover in the period ahead. But I think there's a lot of momentum for us, also abroad, let's say. So yeah, awesome future. Anything else? Last words, Erik, maybe for you.
Well, just looking forward to the next 5 years with you. We had quite a year with a lot of changes. So very glad to have you on board, and we're just very excited to see what the future will bring us. We've been from a startup to a scale up, but now it's time for the next step. So yeah, everyone who's watching this, thank you for for following us, and it's always been a pleasure to connect with our community. That's it from my side. So thank you all for watching.
All right. Cheers,
everyone. Thanks, Lucas.